At the beginning of the film, we are shown footage from the 1980s media, which depicts Randy the Ram Robinson, a famous professional wrestler. Then the plot takes the viewer 20 years ahead, where Randy spends weekends in New Jersey, performing in small independent companies and working part-time in a supermarket. One day, after winning one of the fights, he is offered a rematch with his old opponent, the Ayatollah, in honor of the 20th anniversary of their first meeting. Randy agrees, hoping to regain his former glory. Back at home, he drinks beer and takes painkillers before taking a nap in the back of his van. In the morning, Randy discovers that he has been evicted from the trailer due to rent arrears. The wrestler wants to get an additional job as a loader from the manager to make ends meet. The next day, he works at the supermarket and loads boxes. After work, he visits a strip club and meets Cassidy, a stripper who is older than her colleagues and very attractive. Her colleagues are less than 25 years old, and they dance to modern music, not to the outdated rock of the 80s. A little later, Randy hears a couple of young men insulting Cassidy, calling her an old crone, and intervenes in the situation to protect her. Before going on stage, Cassidy dances a lap dance with Randy. The next day, we are shown how Randy does his exercises, and then he goes to the salon where he bleaches his hair and tans. At the dollar store, he buys a few things for the upcoming match, and then at the gym, he buys steroids and injects them into his body. After leaving the gym, Randy talks to the wrestler, who warns him that the match will be violent. Then the duel begins, which turns out to be a cruel, bloody spectacle. Randy gets multiple cuts, including a serious cut on his chest, but still wins the fight by smashing the glass door on his opponent's head. After the fight, he is greeted with applause by other wrestlers, and doctors begin to repair small cuts and scratches. After the doctors leave, he goes to his locker and suddenly loses consciousness. Then he wakes up and finds himself in the hospital. There he is informed that he has suffered a heart attack and needs surgery. Doctors strongly recommend that he stop using steroids because he was on the verge of death. Randy was an adult wrestler who had heart problems. The doctor advised Randy to stop wrestling to avoid serious health consequences. He listened to the doctor's advice and decided to lead a more relaxed lifestyle. He invited a young neighbor guy to play a video game on an old Nintendo console which depicted Randy himself. However, the teenager quickly left, unhappy with the game and Randy's age. Subsequently, Randy goes for a run to maintain his fitness, but even this is difficult for him. He decided to turn to his friend from the strip club, Cassidy, who suggested that he reconnect with his daughter, Stephanie. At first, Randy is afraid to meet his daughter, but eventually agrees. Randy visited Stephanie's house, but she was unhappy with his absence from her life and refused to talk to him. Cassidy advised Randy to find a gift for Stephanie, and they went to a vintage store. Randy insisted on buying a bright green jacket with the letter S embroidered on it for Stephanie, although Cassidy was not thrilled with the idea. Randy offered Cassidy a beer outside the store, but she refused, explaining that she had a child who needed her care. Upon learning about this, Randy immediately rushes to his van, returns, and hands her an old figure of wrestler Randy the Ram, which he instructs her to give to his son. Eventually, Randy convinces Cassidy to join him for a beer. A little later, she shows him a picture of her son, and Randy praises her for how attractive he looks, saying that he looks like his mother. They talk and reminisce about the 1980s and how bad things are now. Then they kiss in a pub and hug tightly, but soon she abruptly pushes him away, drinks her drink, and leaves. Randy visits Stephanie and gives her a gift. The first was a shiny light green jacket with an embroidered letter S. Then he gives her the coat that Cassidy chose. She likes this gift much more. Stephanie agrees to spend the day with Randy, although she doesn't really want to. They walk along the New Jersey waterfront and chat. Randy admits that he is a failed father and asks her for forgiveness for his past mistakes. Stephanie treats him with understanding and arranges for dinner on the weekend, hoping that he is trying to become a better father. A few days later, Randy attends a wrestling convention to sign autographs, but only 2 people meet him there. He also notices that the old wrestlers he remembers are crippled, and one of them is sitting in a wheelchair. Randy decides to resign and cancels the rematch in honor of the Ayatollah's 20th birthday. Then he goes to work and enters his boss's office, where he discovers that he is watching explicit content. Randy closes the door and turns to the boss to ask for extra hours of work, but he is asked to work only on weekends. Randy agrees and starts working behind the counter in the store. His boss gives him an apron, a hairnet, and a name badge, and Randy starts working. Randy seems to like taking care of his customers and enjoys cutting meat and cooking poultry. Subsequently, he visits stripper Cassidy and gives her a thank you card. He offers her a drink, but she refuses, explaining that she does not drink with clients. Randy is stunned, as he thought they had already passed this stage. However, Cassidy yells at him, claiming that he is just a client and that she should not have gone out with him the first time. Their quarrel turns into insults from Randy, and the guards are forced to kick him out of the club. Upset, Randy visits a wrestling show, where he gets drunk in the company of other wrestlers. The next morning, he comes home and sleeps all day. When he wakes up, he realizes that he has overslept the promised dinner with his daughter. In the dead of night, he comes to Stephanie to apologize, but she throws things at him and says that she waited for him for 2 hours. She assures Randy that he was not and will not be her father, and that he can never change. She also declares that she never wants to see him again. The next day, Randy goes to work. While working, one of the buyers recognized Randy as a former wrestler of the Ram, but the Ram persistently denied that it was him. The fans' persistence angered Randy, who accidentally cut his finger on an electric meat cleaver. When the manager expressed his displeasure, Randy got even more angry and threw the goods off the shelves, scaring the visitors. After the incident, Randy called his manager and announced his desire to have a rematch with the Ayatollah. Randy is later seen changing his appearance, coloring his hair and sunbathing before packing up his things and driving away in his trailer. At this time, Cassidy comes in and apologizes for not daring to let him get too close. Then Randy realizes that he must be alone and leaves, handing her a leaflet. Randy arrives at the arena and greets Ayatollah Khomeini, who is now a used car salesman under the name Bob. When Randy is about to enter the ring, the crowd starts shouting his name loudly. At this time, Cassidy appears. She warns him that his heart may stop if he continues to fight, but he rejects her warning. Randy declares that he doesn't care about the real world and that the ring is the only place where he feels free. Cassidy expresses his desire to be with him, but Randy rushes into the ring to loud applause from the fans. He thanks his fans and tells them how he lived his life. Even though everyone said he would never be able to fight again, he came back. After that, the match begins, and all the spectators are delighted. During the fight, Randy begins to deviate from the original plan, which causes concern for the Ayatollah. It seems that Randy is doing this on purpose, as if he wants his heart to stop beating. During the fight, Randy's heart fails and he can barely stand on his feet. When the Ayatollah realizes that Randy's heart will not stand, he tries to stop the fight to save his life, but Randy insists on continuing the fight. He looks for Cassidy, but doesn't find her. At this time, Randy climbs the top rope to perform his famous Ram Jam. As a result, Randy realizes that in fact the only people who really loved him were his loyal fans. He fulfills their request and jumps from the top rope straight to victory.